Hey, hey, welcome to the live. It is me, Yaya, and I'm excited to have this conversation today. For those of you who don't know what we're talking about today, maybe you're like, what are we talking about today? We are discussing how to measure a man's capacity to love you. For those of you who've been around for a while, you know how much I love talking about relationships and talking about relationships in a deeper way than we often get relationships, from the online space to the self help books to all over the place, to our conversations with our girlfriends and family members. I like to go a little bit deeper because relationship to me is foundational to our human experience. It's foundational to the human experience as a whole, beyond just being a woman. And of course, as women, a lot of times we do want to be loved. We want to be cherished. We want to feel that sense of community and companionship. But beyond just being a woman, relationships are foundational to the human experience. I say all the time, the first thing that God gave us as humans is our relationship to each other. He gave us our assignment to work, and he gave us our relationship to each other. So anytime we find ourselves in a place where relationships feel hard, that is a symptom. And we're going to talk about that in a minute, but that's a symptom. And so often we look at it as almost like when your back starts hurting, you're like, oh my God, my back is killing me. My back is hurting. My back is hurting. My back is hurting. Well, your spine is critical to your experience in this human body, and many times the pain is simply a symptom of a bigger problem. And so we're going to talk about that today because I love talking about relationships, about getting us to a place where, as women, we relate well with each other, and as men and women, we relate well with each other. God gave us male and female first. So we were not created to be enemies. We were not created to be in competition. We were created to be complements to each other. We were created to be companions to each other. We were created to complete assignments together. We are the completion of an assignment as male and female. And so when we find that every time we try to have relationships in our lives, and I'm not just talking about women, I know a lot of men who have failed relationship after failed relationship after failed relationship all over their lives. And so when we find that we keep experiencing that same outcome, it's time to start looking at, do I even understand how this is supposed to go? Or am I trying to build um, powerful relationships in my life based on emotions, based on past baggage that no longer serves me, is no longer supporting me at all, it's no longer useful? Am I trying to build new relationships using old tools? So we're going to talk about that today. We're going to dive deep into it. For those of you who don't know who I am, because it's rude to not introduce yourself. First of all, if you are joining me for the first time, make sure to say hello in the comments. Make sure to say hi in the comments on YouTube, hi in the comments on Facebook, in the Facebook group, because I want to say hi back. I love welcoming new people in. If it's not your first time, well, welcome back. It's so good to see you here. And for those who don't know who I am, my name is Yaya Smith. I'm the Feminine Success Coach. I'm the founder of Feminine Success, and I've been operating not only this business, but in my gift of coaching women. People ask me, when did I start? I really feel like I've been coaching my whole life. My family has stories from when I was 3 years old, and I would get all of my dad's friends and sit them all down, room full of men, sit them all down and start teaching them, little 3-year-old me. But officially, I started working as a femininity coach specifically about 6 years ago. What started me on this journey was realizing that the relationships that I was seeing all over my life were not the exception. They were the rule. I was seeing women give their all to men, men give their all to women, people thinking that they were loving each other well, and relationships still failing. Families fail when relationships fail. Communities fail when families fail. And seeing that, I also saw those women and men throw themselves into their work, throw themselves into their careers, and feel very overwhelmed, very stressed out when it was all said and done because they didn't have a soft place to land in their life. So, what I realized was that the version of success that we have been taught, this masculine version of success, where it's either you pursue your career and you pursue your desires, or you have the love, the family, the lifestyle that you want, it wasn't working for anyone. It wasn't really working for men, even though they hit it very well. And it wasn't working for women either. And for myself, I had created a space where I was able to have the freedom to raise my children the way that I wanted to, be loved well by my husband day in and day out. And I noticed that my relationships with the men in my life had evolved tremendously over the years because I had been able to observe other relationships and also go through my own trials, like trials, y'all, and come out still believing in love, believing in family, believing in what was available to me, and not only believing in it, but making it a reality. My husband and I have been married for 9 years this month, and we are the parents of four. We are homeschool parents. We are world traveling parents. We are just back home to New Orleans today from our latest trip. And we've created a lifestyle that speaks to a new version of success, the kind of success that doesn't require you to cut off parts of yourself or shut down parts of yourself to have success, to have career success, to have family success. Because I also see a lot of women who have shut their dreams down because they think that that's what they need to do to have a great man or to keep a man or whatever have you. This isn't that kind of femininity. This is not that brand of femininity. This is where you come when you are tired of working like a man, and burning out like a man and thinking like a man. This is where you come when you are ready to succeed in the way that women really desire to succeed, with your time freedom intact, with fulfillment intact, and with real love intact. So, tonight I am going to just share some thoughts. And I also have one of my amazing clients who has gotten such great results in the area of relationships, but also all over her life. And I'll have her come on in a couple minutes. But tonight I wanted to really just get into it with you guys, because what is happening is that a lot of times we keep attracting the same situations, the same kinds of situations, whether it's emotional unavailability in men, or a recent client of mine has been like, yeah, I told you the kind of man I wanted to attract. Now I've attracted that kind of man, and it isn't what I thought it was going to be. So we seem to continue to attract these men who don't really have the capacity to love us in the way that we desire to be loved. Now, if you think about your life, everywhere in your life, you want to be loved, right? You want to be loved at work. You want to be loved in your friendships. You want to be loved in your romantic relationships. You want to be loved by your family. A lot of times we tell ourselves, well, I don't need that, because we've tried and tried and tried for so long and not gotten that thing that we were trying for. So we convince ourselves that it's no longer important. If you are the person who is tired of stuffing your needs and your desires in the closet, you're tired of pretending like you don't want what you want, then you're in the right place. Now, if you're the woman who says, you know what, yeah, I don't want a man. I don't want nobody to like me. I don't care if anybody likes me. I know I used to be that way. But if that's where you still are and you want to stay there, then this is probably not the live for you, because it's just going to frustrate you. It's going to make you feel like she's talking all this stuff about people liking you and desiring you. And I don't even care about all that. So come back another day. Okay. But a lot of times we seem to be attracting people who just don't have the capacity, but we really don't know what that should look like. I heard Pastor Keon, if you aren't following him, he's awesome. Heard Pastor Keon talk about one time, many times we are the whole bottle of water. Imagine a bottle of water, and we are twisting off the top and trying to pour this whole bottle into the top. Well, that top doesn't have the capacity to hold all that you're trying to pour. And it's important to realize that the cap isn't wrong, the cap isn't bad, the cap just doesn't have the capacity. Okay. And it's so interesting because right before this, I shared a similar sentiment in my story. And a guy friend of mine that I absolutely honor and respect felt a little some kind of way about it. And I get it, because when we say to a man or say about a man, he doesn't have the capacity, what they receive that as is they don't have the capability. Capacity and capability are different. A person may have the ability to love you well. And a lot of times we fall into that trap. We're telling them exactly what we want, exactly what we need. You're communicating, you're doing all these things. And you're like, I know you can do it, but you're not. I keep telling you, but you're not doing it. And capacity and capability are different. You can be able to shoot a basketball and make it in the goal. You have the capability to do that, but do you have the training to do that? Do have you been around people who even encourage that kind of behavior in you? Have you ever tried it? Have you been playing soccer all your life and now suddenly you want to become a basketball player? It's not that you can't do it, but in the moment where you are, you don't have the capacity to do it. And so, for my brothers who are watching, let me clear that up right now. I am not saying that you are incapable of loving a woman properly. Capacity is specific, though. Are you specifically able to love that woman in the way that she desires to be loved? Because you've loved another woman before and done it well does not mean that you have the capacity to love the next woman well. Okay. And it also doesn't mean that you can't learn. Ladies, I'm letting y'all know that too. But what I always say again is that when we keep attracting this thing, whatever the thing is, it could be a job, could be work relationships, could be romantic relationships that are not meeting you at your level, that is showing you that underlying there is a symptom, that is a symptom of a bigger issue. That issue could be your mindset, that issue could be your discernment. We don't talk enough about discernment. We talk a lot about mindset. We talk a lot about um, our ability to communicate and set boundaries. But before you even set the boundaries, are you discerning properly to know whether that person even should be in your life? And that's where capacity comes in, because whether they should be in your life is based on specific criteria, is based on the protocol that you have set up. Okay. So a lot of women are running away from their man problem. They're running away from it. They're turning their backs on it. They don't want to talk about it. A lot of ladies, we have singles classes. We have these conversations, and a lot of y'all hide in the back. A lot of y'all play wildflower because it can feel shameful. It can feel like, why have I not gotten this? And innately, we know that we should be able to relate well as men and women because we were designed for each other. But the conditioning that we've received, the societal issues that we deal with have moved us away from what is natural to us. Now, the gender war is normal now, but it's not natural. And everything that's normal is not natural. Running away from the issue will not help you to solve it. What we often do is try to fill that space in our life with other masculine things like work, like money, like accomplishment, like achievement, like grinding more so that you can buy more, so that you can become that masculine provision principle for yourself. But you and I know none of that fills the gap, none of that fills the space. Okay. What can fill the space is properly choosing the right people to be in your life so that you're not constantly experiencing heartbreak or disappointment, because some of us, you guarded your heart so well that it don't break no more, but your mind still gets disappointed. Yeah, that, the stress of that. It's time out. We don't need to deal with that anymore in 2021. All right. But imagine if you had easy relationships with men in your life. Imagine if relationships with men felt safe. Imagine if you felt like, when I need help, I can reach out and get all the help that I need. I can ask and it'll be provided for me. Imagine feeling like the men in your life are problem solvers rather than problems. That's where we're going now and in the future, into a place where, whether you are romantically connected to a man or professionally connected to a man or platonically connected to a man, he becomes a solution for you rather than a problem. All right. And you begin to feel safe, which is so important for us to really create the way that we've been designed to create as women, for us to really make the impact that we need to make in the world in this time that is begging for more of the feminine, more healthy feminine. We've got to feel safe, ladies. The reason that you don't feel you can be soft is because you don't feel safe yet. All right. And creating solid relationships, solid friendships, solid connections to the masculine in your life will create a sense of safety for you. And when you do that, you also create a stronger connection to your inner masculine. Now, we're not going to go into that tonight, but if you want to know more, keep following. Okay. So let's get into how to measure a man's capacity to love you. We've talked about, what the issue is. We've talked about what it can look like on the other side, but let's get into how you even know from the beginning. So, one of the things that I have been kind of like hammering into folks' heads about choosing the right kinds of men to have in your life is, it's biblical, but I'm not going to beat you in the head with scripture. And that is, we have been told again and again and again to love our neighbor as we love ourselves. And so often we go into a relationship, not to say that these things don't matter, but they don't come first. We go into a situation, friendship, dating, even just looking at a guy, and we say, well, how does he treat other people around him? How does he treat his mom? How does he treat his sister? How does he treat kids? How does he treat everybody else? And yes, those things are important. But if you want to know if a man has the capacity to love you well, the first thing you need to know is, does he love himself well? How does he treat himself? And some of the things that you can practically look at: how does he respond when he makes a mistake? Does he give himself grace? How does he navigate how he is held accountable? When someone brings up a flaw, an issue, how does he navigate that with himself? Not just with others, but with himself. Okay. How is he treating himself? How does he treat himself on a daily basis? These are things that are easy to recognize. Does he smell good? Like, is he taking the time to get himself together before he walks out of the door? Okay. Does he take care of himself? How does he feed himself? How does he feed his mind? Does he love himself? And how does he love himself? And this goes back to your relationship with you, because you will know how a man's capacity to manage, handle, love you is by how you handle yourself. Are there things that you do for yourself that you also see mirrored in him? Or that when you do them for yourself, he feels some kind of way about it? When you take time for yourself, when you, if even if you're at work, if you need to take a break and you notice a coworker is getting salty every time you take a break, when you go to lunch or what you're ordering for lunch, they're just a little, you need to do all that. That's not the guy for you. I remember being at a at a little gathering, and we were encouraged to bring our own snacks. And so I brought snacks. I brought things for people to try. I bought things that I like. If you know me well enough, you know I love a nice cheese board. I love caviar. I love crackers. I love a good smoked salmon. It's just my thing. And a guy there was like, y'all need to be doing all this. And I was like, hmm. So I just paid attention to his interactions with his wife over the rest of the weekend and could clearly see this woman is not being loved well. But the reason she's not being loved well is because he doesn't love himself well, because he had ordered pizza for himself and his friends and was like, we're just gonna eat some pizza. But was that really what you wanted? Was pizza? And if it is, you would have been hating on our caviar over here. So there are oftentimes small things that you can pick up on to notice how a person loves themselves, especially a man. A man who tends to his own needs is not often a complainer, ladies. A man who tends to his own needs is often not a complainer. You'll rarely hear him complain because he's looking for solutions for himself. He's saying, okay, I don't like this thing, so let me fix this thing. What does that show you? That shows you that when you say in your relationship to him, I don't like this, he's not going to look at you and say, well, why are you always complaining? He's going to say, let's find a solution for it. Let's fix it. Or what would you like? All right. So that's the first thing, is that you want to measure and observe, how does he love himself? The second thing, how loved do the people in his life feel? How loved do the people in his life feel? Have you ever been around a man and when he walks into the room, everyone's super excited that he's there? Oh my goodness, they're hugging him, they're loving him, they're excited for his energy. In the same way, have you ever been around a man, he walks into the room and folks are like, here he go. Here he go. That kind of energy. Pay attention to how loved the people around him feel. This is where how he treats his mom comes in, how he relates with his father comes in, how he relates with elder men around him, how he relates to the people in his community, children. Here is where that matters. How loved do the people around him feel? Okay. And what I'm saying is often we get it backwards. We say, well, let me look at how the people around him are feeling first. And we assume that in our relationship to him, that is how he will treat us. But here's what we forget, ladies. Here is what we forget. When you become the woman in a man's life, you, unlike his friends, unlike the people in his community, the kids that he takes care of and volunteers with, the folks at his job, unlike them, you're with him at his best, you're with him at his worst. You're with him in secret when no one else sees. You're there. And so if you're not paying attention to how he treats himself first, you start to get the backlash of how he's treating himself in secret. Because how he treats others is his public image. And they all want to be the superhero. I mean, all of them want to be the superhero. And that's his public image. Of course, he's good to them. So you want to first pay attention to how good he is to himself, and then how loved do the people around him feel. The third thing is, does he make room for his emotions? Does he make room for his emotions, and how? Now, this is the thing about this one. He may be making room for his emotions in private, and he may not feel comfortable talking to you about his emotions. That's totally fine. However, is he able to speak to his practices around how he makes room for himself emotionally? Is he going to therapy? Does he sit and talk with his pastor? Does he have an elder man that he goes and connects with? Does he journal? Like, can he speak to the fact that he has a practice? This is important because oftentimes in our relationships with men, we say, when things got bad, when I got emotional, when I showed him, my pain or whatever, then he disappeared. But if he's not holding space for himself emotionally, he cannot hold space for you emotionally, period. He can't. He doesn't even know what that looks like. Okay. And another side of that is you don't want to become the container for his emotions. As a woman, you should not be the only person that your man vents to at all. That should be a boundary. Because where are you going to put that weight? Okay. Where are you going to put that weight? And we have a bad habit, ladies, of taking on the emotional weight of the people around us. That's not necessary. All right. So that's the third thing. The fourth, let me know y'all are following me. I see. Y'all are in the comments today. Well, not so many, but yeah. I know so many men that have amazing dynamic personality in public, but then don't take care of or treat themselves or their women well at all. Exactly. All right. The fourth thing, is he excited or burdened by responsibility? Is he excited or burdened by responsibility? This is so important because a man who is burdened by responsibility is not ready to be a man yet. He will complain. He will make you feel like you're too much, like you're doing too much, like you're not doing enough. He will be entitled. Okay. So you want to align yourself with men who feel good being on purpose, who feel good when others need them, when others can depend on them, when they're considered reliable and responsible. Men who seek out that kind of challenge, that kind of level up, men who are looking for that kind of call on themselves, because our men are the foundation of our communities, our society. Literally, consider that a man who feels like he should never have to be responsible for anything and anybody. Usually, those are the ones who are out here wielding their parts around really irresponsibly and leaving women or their team at work or their friends holding the bag to be responsible for the messes that they make. Jabril says, wow, that trait describes my dad. One of the things that I really love about him. Are they excited or burdened by responsibility and accountability, even? Here's the thing, the Bible tells us that a wise man loves correction, but a fool hates correction. When you hold him accountable to what he said he was going to do, who he said he was going to be, does he feel like you're nagging him or is he thankful for it? Good question to ask yourself. So that's the fourth thing. The fifth is, does he trust his own decisions? Does he trust his ability as a decision maker? This is so important because you want to be in relationship to someone who is not going to 6 months down the line, a year down the line, come at you with the foolishness of, oh, I don't know if this is the right thing for me. I don't know if I'm ready for all of this. Does that man take his word seriously, his decisions seriously, his time seriously? A powerful man, a man who is worth your friendship, a man who is worth your relationship, a man who is worth your partnership is going to be, and a man who is worth your submission, because I know we got a lot of believers here on the line, is going to be a man who trusts his own decisions and someone whose decisions you can trust. He's not running back on his word because emotionally he just feels like, oh, I don't know right now. He doesn't let his emotions make his decisions because emotions are temporary. And he looks at his responsibilities, which a woman in your life is a responsibility. He looks at his responsibilities as something that are permanent and understands that his emotions, while relevant, are not permanent. All right. So, does he trust his own decisions? And the sixth thing, does he respond well to well communicated boundaries? Now, listen, ladies, if you are coming at somebody and communicating your boundaries with all this going on, or even communicating your boundaries with this going on, folks are going to feel attacked. They will. They will. Even this can feel like an attack. It can feel like I am protecting myself from you. So then their mind goes into, well, she doesn't trust me. What is going on here? Have I given her a reason not to trust me? What's happening? All of that. But does he respond well to well communicated boundaries? That's saying no. How does he respond to no? How does he respond to, I want you to do this better, or I want you to do this differently, or I didn't like that? That's so important to be mindful of. And know too, ladies, that I'm not telling you here that you need to find a perfect man or only a perfect man is worth your time. But these things speak to a person's character. And character is what you marry. Character are the things that you get stuck with. So you want to discern his character, the kind of spirit that he has before you make a commitment. So often we are waiting for the man to make a commitment. And what I love about my community, I love about the women in my community is the shift that happens in them where they stop waiting for a man to commit and they start asking themselves, am I ready to commit to this man? This man that is presenting himself to me, am I ready to commit to this? So I am super excited to have you guys hear from a woman who I admire, one of my clients. When we started working together, we were working on her business. Actually, we were working on her gaining the confidence that she needed to step fully into the work that she feels called to do. And relationships were an issue, but they were like, I don't even want to talk about that right now, issue. So as we were working on not only her business, but just helping her to soften into her femininity, trust herself, relax into her life, her relationship with her father grew and expanded. Her relationships with the men around her, the help that she started to get was just amazing. It blossomed. And then in all of that, she was able to attract they're like literally one of my favorite couples from my community right now, because the love you can see, they're coming up on, I believe, like 2 years, 2.5 years now, and you can cut it with a knife, the love that they have amongst each other. So I'm gonna let you guys hear from her. I'm not gonna tell her story for y'all. I'm going to bring Veronica on. You can unmute yourself, Veronica. Are you good? Do you have a good connection? Let's see. Are you there, Veronica? Shalice says these lessons are so valuable for women before marriage or serious relationships. Yes, and even in a marriage and serious relationship. Okay, I think you're there, Veronica. Hold on. I think you might be breaking up. You can say hi. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, goodness, you're breaking up a little bit, Veronica. Let's see. Try to leave out and come back in, and let's see if that works. Okay, we're gonna let Veronica leave and come back and see if that works for her. While we are doing that, I am going to quickly scroll through you guys' comments because I see y'all are live in the chat today. Okay. Yes, how does he love himself? Key Serene. Hey, Key, so good to see you here today. A man who tends to his own needs is often not a complainer. Exactly. If anything I do you think is too much, that has become a trigger for me. I understand. I understand. I overstand. Listen, you want a man who is telling you to turn up your light, not turn it down. All right. Are you there, Veronica?
I'm sorry, my internet's a little choppy today.
No problem. How are you, beautiful?
I'm well. How are you? How are you? This has been awesome. I've been
Um,
taking notes. I still take notes from you. So
yes,
I'm still, even if I found my love, I still take notes.
yes, yes, yes. What's so beautiful is all my clients still, y'all are so diligent to y'all's Yaya notebooks. Y'all are on it. And Veronica is a psychotherapist. She is just amazing at
Yes.
what she does. And I would love for you to tell from your perspective how your love story has blossomed from being super single to being well loved. Let's see, we still got you chopping.
Yes. Oh my God. Super single. I feel so blessed to have found you because I do really feel so much that you helped me, just even find the language. I'm choppy. I'm sorry. That's a horrible thing. My internet's been acting up today. It's been having some issues. happening with all my Zoom calls too. So
It's, it's okay. We can hear you though.
I'm sorry.
So we're gonna let Veronica pop off, pop back on one more time. Um, if you have like things going on in your house too, sometimes that's it. Like if somebody else is like streaming a movie or something like that. Um, but you can pop off and pop back on, and I'll let you right in. Um, but I have a question here from Adam Buxton. He says, "Is it hard to find a good woman?" It's not. I think that there is work in connecting with someone who is the right fit for you. So often we try to just connect and make people good for us. Um, and not everyone is that right fit. One of the things that really set me free in my relationships, in my love life, was realizing that I am not the one for everyone. I am only the one for the one. And that was so revealing to me because I was going through these relationships, and every time it would end, I would say, "What is wrong with me? What is wrong with me? Why can't I?" And then I realized maybe there's nothing wrong with you. Maybe these are just not your people. And that's okay too. Um, let's see. Would it be easier to get Veronica on the phone, maybe on speaker? Possibly. I think she's trying to pop in from her cell phone now. Let's see. How do we manage a man's capability to increase his capacity to love us properly? You don't manage that. That's not for you to manage. That's for him to manage. What you have got to do is communicate how you want to be loved and ask if that's something that he is willing to provide for you. And if not, move on. Let's see. Shalice says, I just wonder how you recover after you've already married someone you don't really mesh that well with. I definitely recommend marriage counseling, therapy. Perfect. Thank you, Nicole. Marriage counseling, marriage therapy, because sometimes it really is a disconnect in the way that you guys were raised, your childhood traumas, your childhood issues. Sometimes, and we talked about this recently inside of Feminine Success School, sometimes the way that you're loving people, the way that you're relating in your relationships, the way that you're working, the choices that you're making are really not your own. You are allowing the way that your mom thinks it should be done, the way that your grandmother did it, the way that your father thinks it should be done to drive your car. And it's time for you to get back behind the wheel. Know too that your partner could be allowing the same things to happen. He may be loving you the way that he saw his father love or didn't see his father love. He may be using outdated tools. And the best thing that you can do for your relationship, that's if the both of you want it to work, is to get new tools that both of you can work with. So I hope that that helped. I hope that that helped. Jabril says, are there any questions we should ask to help us gather information when dating, especially up front? Yes, there are lots of questions that you should ask. I am 100% about asking questions. And I'm a person who feels like if you're asking a man questions, unless it's like super personal and you just being inappropriate, but if you are asking a man genuine questions and trying to get to know him and he is uncomfortable answering those questions, that's a red flag. That lets you know there's something that he does not want to share, something that he may be hiding. And it's up to you to decide if you want to play those kinds of games. But yes, you should be asking these questions. And also, even before you decide to date someone, observing them, spending some time observing them, spending some time observing how they maneuver online. I know you're already Googling them half to death, you're finding them on social media. So spend some time paying attention to how they interact and engage in those different spaces. Um, so yeah, I would definitely say there are a lot of questions to ask, and the questions that you ask really are based on your needs, what you know about yourself, what you know is important to you. Nicole says watching their online activity is so important. It really, really is, y'all. It really is. I mean, think about it. I think this is just my thoughts. Okay. I ain't gonna knock my glasses off my face. But and it's no shade to Kevin Samuels, because people, do what they feel they need to do to make their money or make their impact or whatever. But if I were dating, I would not date someone who watches Kevin Samuels. I just wouldn't, because his values and the way that he values women does not align with how I want to be valued. And so a lot of people are like, oh, but he speaks the truth sometimes. And I don't want to be stuck in a relationship with a man who feels that he has to cut me every time he is telling the truth, who feels that he has to hurt me in order to get through to me at all. Or who feels that that's okay for other people to do. And so I'm not saying that should be your filter, but I'm saying that that is a filter. So paying attention to those kinds of things gives you a very quick and easy way to see, what is this man really about? Because people can tell you that they're about anything. I listen. A man will knock you over the head with the Bible, okay? Will hotep you to death. Will African consciousness, spirituality, will stock market talk you to death. Depending on what you like, a man can be that. So I would definitely pay closer attention to what he is interested in. What does when he has free time, how's he spending it? Good question to ask him. How do you spend your free time? What's your favorite YouTube channel? Like literally, these are things that are easy surface level questions that give you a lot more insight into how a person is thinking. I saw recently this video. I don't even remember the guy's name, but it's some man who is out here giving men advice, and he does not believe that female orgasm is a real thing. And I probably would not date somebody who had those kinds of thoughts. Like, tell me that you don't know how to please a woman without telling me you don't know how to please a woman. Like, why be stuck with that? So, a lot of times, if you are paying attention, these men will tell you exactly who they are. The question is, do you believe them when you see it? Or do you say, oh, well, maybe that was just them. Maybe he was just like that with those women. Maybe it's just that kind of woman that he treats like that. He'll be different with me because I'm not like that. Okay. Okay. I'm just here to let y'all know. I'm just here to shine a light in the dark places. That's what I'm here to do. So I hope this is enlightening some of your minds tonight so that you never walk down these dark, shadowy corners again. Fuzza says Hotep Queen, all of that lingo. Listen, I don't know if the Grand Rising piece. I know that's a big topic right now online. I don't have a problem with Grand Rising, but I am going to question it. All right, let's see. We got Veronica back. We got Veronica back. We got you back. Oh, you are coming in clear now.
Good. I'm so happy. I was so upset about that.
You are coming in clear. You are good.
This
This is
internet.
so funny. These comments are hilarious. I know that you can see them now. Okay. All right. So, what we were discussing, oh Lord, someone said I am not a biscuit for Grand Rising. That's funny because you know biscuits, grands,
Oh my
those
God.
grand biscuits. Okay. All right. So let's talk about it because I see someone in the comment talking about being strung along right now, and we have all experienced that. So, how did you get from that place where you were like, I don't want to have anything to do with these men because they are out here playing games, to being in such, I mean, the way Leo looks at you, the way that you guys just, it just bleeds through the screen. Both my husband and I love to just see you guys. So tell us in your own words.
We feel the same way about you guys, so it's all cool. I think, wow, I think that like really learning from you was major because I really felt like I had to heal my relationship with the masculine first. I realized like how much I was like standoffish and how much I was almost like taking that role. I felt like I was like sacrificing without even knowing, like sacrificing men in
Mhm.
life without even knowing. And I really resonated with a lot of the stuff you were sharing because as a psychotherapist, I'm constantly doing that reflection work for myself and trying to figure out like, where do I stand? What's going on with me and how am I participating in this? Um, and so the first thing that I think when I found you, I was just following your content, and one of the things that resonated with me was just really having men around in my life that I could feel safe around, and whether that was a friendship, whether that was work, that totally changed the game for me. Like I wasn't necessarily interested in like finding a romantic partner because I did feel like many women feel like where they at, like there's it's slim pickings out here. So I wasn't really trying to, or at least that was my perception. I wasn't really trying to look for that, but I definitely felt that I wasn't giving the men in my life the opportunity to allow me to feel safe, to provide for me, and that started with, friendships with men and also with my father. Like you mentioned, I definitely allowed for myself to be more open to him. I think I was really just afraid of rejection or afraid of all the things that we're afraid of, and I just allowed myself to lean in closer to that relationship. And I remember having some like really hard conversations, with him, and remembering him asking me like, why now? Why are we talking about, I'm like over 30 and I'm like, this is how I feel and this is what's going on. And he cried with me. I think we had such real vulnerable moments for the first time in like my whole life, and really just acknowledged, what I was going through and what I was feeling. And I just was like, I really want to mend this relationship with men. Like, I don't think I'm going to find or be able to partner with someone if I'm still feeling this way. And I'm just grateful that I can actually talk about it with you. Like, I can sit with you and talk about it because you're here, right? Like, you're right in front of me. And that's like a blessing just in itself. And it was a really big like turning point for my relationship with my dad. Obviously, like we still have work to do and we're still like working on that. But I think from that point on, I felt like I became, I don't know, more receptive to what men had to offer to me. And it didn't have to be like a sexual thing. It could have just been like their help. And I just realized like, wow, this is a thing. Like my whole life changed, like seeing men from that place and seeing them as helpful and adding on, and it didn't have to be so hard for me, and it just felt so great. Like it really just, my whole perspective changed. And I think even in learning from you, like the language, like what's the best way to communicate. I don't have to be so harsh, so hard, so difficult, because I was like, I'm not, I didn't even give them the space, and I think that that's really important. Like humbling myself in that way was really important. I don't know if humbling is the word, but maybe softening, maybe being more receptive. And so, when we started working together, it was like all business. Like I was like, oh, I like the way this woman works and I need to, but there was a part of me that knew all of the things that you work on, right? Like the full whole holistic approach. And so that's what really resonated with me, because I believe in that myself as a psychotherapist. That's my lens too. And so I was like, part of me was like, maybe I won't be able to get, all of these things also, maybe in the back of my mind. But focusing on work and just making sure that I was, being able to accept help was really how I met Leo, my love. Because I was looking for, for people to work with from a holistic lens, people that were doing different things, energy work, Reiki, different kinds of healers. And I really felt like I wanted to build a team. So when I met him, he was like fully on board, because I didn't know this, but he was looking for someone like me in the same way. And so we came together, we started working together. So it was really nice because we formulated a friendship first, which was, I think, different for both of us. And because we really love our work and what we do, we were very motivated by that. So, like, nothing was going to get in the way of that. We didn't want a relationship getting messy or getting in the way of that. Like, it was very clear and cut. Eventually we started to open up to each other. We became closer, things went into a different direction, and we really had to make a decision, like, are we going to do this where we're in business together, working together, and also building a relationship. And again, I think with your language and just like, I literally was like a little yaya student, like, in the way that I was communicating. And I feel like he was very receptive to that. And I don't think he was really used to meeting women in that way too, because I think so many of us have become so hardened and so, like, independent, like all these things. But I knew that was like, there was a part of that was like causing a detriment to me and to the women in my life, like, that I see, right? Like, I see my grandmother, she's like alone, she has her own perceptions of men. I was starting to take on a lot of these beliefs, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to end up like this. And so opening myself up is still a journey. Like, me and Leo have been together now like 2.5 years, something like that. And I think, one of the places is me still trusting and feeling safe enough in the space. And he is just, you know, that's not his issue. So, like, it's really good because it's helpful for me. I think in the places that I need healing, he's really good. And I think vice versa, in the spaces that he needs healing, I've been able to help him. And I think that's what makes everything feel very authentic for us and very genuine. Um, it is hard to have a relationship and have a business. I mean, that's like really rare. I've never experienced that, but it also kind of keeps us like really connected to like a mission. So, like, petty things are like super petty because we're like trying to be like helping the world. We can't be worried about like you left the socks on the floor. You know what I mean? So that's been very helpful. But I do think that it's special to have a relationship with people who share your same goals. Like, I'm so passionate about my work, and I can't imagine being with someone who's like super left, like doing something totally different. I don't know if it would work as much because my work does take time, and we're able to do work together and we're helping people together. So it's been really beautiful, and I think that's really what ignites our love for each other. And he's the perfect mixture of like, I don't, that's why I feel like I coming to this place and like learning these things from you attracted him, because I'm like, how am I gonna get a guy who like can fight, he writes poetry, like he can dance, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, where did you come from? But he's like all these beautiful, amazing things that I've always wanted, that I never um I knew, but I never really thought about it until I started working with you, and just seeing, I mean, just following all your information, and taking my notes. I will always forever take notes. And not only that, but just like how you've helped my lens for my clients too. Because me as a therapist, like, I know that there were, when I started, the difference of like how, what I tolerate, what I have like compassion for, where I feel more balanced. I didn't have those things in the beginning, and I'll admit that, because I felt like my lens was limited. And now I'm just like I think it really helps to be in it, to be in a relationship, to be learning, having this experience, learning where it's like it's really difficult, learning where it's also like really beautiful and inspiring. And I'm much more balanced as a clinician. Like, I think in the beginning I was more independent, like, oh heck no, he did not do, right? And now I'm like, okay, let's like think about this more rationally, like there's a give and take, so I think that just, I mean, I'm trying to say this all in condensed. This is like not doing it justice, but this is like really, been such a um Leo knows, like he loves Yaya. He's just like, you just got off the call with Yaya, didn't you? Because, well, your coach, because you're totally being like a whole different person right now. I'm like, yes, I need to check in with her, make sure I'm on the path. Um, but yeah, so it's been, I'm always going to feel super blessed for you. I tell you all the time, you're like an angel on earth for me. You helped me so much, you continue to help me, and you help me be a better, partner, just a better woman, a better clinician. So like, that's it. It's me and you forever. Yeah, yeah.
What
Is that,
y'all not gonna do is have me crying online.
you
Y'all,
know I can't help it.
I know they always ask, yeah, yeah, bring some of your clients on. And I'm like, these women, they know. Like, first of all, thank you, Veronica. Thank you. I appreciate you sharing your story. I appreciate you even believing in taking the journey, the feminine success journey, because it can seem like, is that really real? Like, is that really? And a couple of y'all have started and been like, I just sat on it for a minute because I just didn't believe it. I just didn't believe it was real. But to see the outcome of it, to see the way that you just keep blooming and flowering and blossoming, and even in the seasons where your petals are withering and you're like, it's time to, scale back and calm down, you handle it with so much grace now and so much ease. So just to watch it unfold is such a blessing for me. My husband will tell y'all, I am forever in here crying over y'all. Like every time y'all post a win, I'm like, oh my God, my
Yep.
babies.
Yep.
But it's so good to see, because something that you mentioned that I think a lot of women don't take into account is that once you unlock your receiving mechanism as a woman, yes, we know we've been taught to be independent. We've been taught to do it on our own. We are totally capable. But is it the most conducive? Is being independent the thing that best supports your purpose, your journey in life? Is it what best supports your health? Is it what best supports your mental health?
Yep.
Is that really helping you, or is it just familiar? And once you unlock that receiving, you just started receiving from all over the place. I even think about career wise for you. There was a time when we had a call and you were like, yeah, yeah, now that I'm receiving this, it's a lot to manage all of the good things that are coming.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
it's a lot. And no one really tells you how harvest time is going to require a lot from you as well. Finally landing that amazing position, that amazing business, that amazing relationship, that's going to require another level of you, and having support for that is what really changes the game for you. So often we beat ourselves up for dropping the ball or missing an opportunity,
Mhm.
but you might have been ready for the opportunity but didn't have the support to sustain the opportunity.
Mhm.
And that's so important. Can you speak to how having support, and not just in coaching but all over your life,
Yeah.
has changed the game for you? Because you were like fiercely independent when we met.
I was. Yeah, I think, man, I Um, I think definitely having support. I mean, coaching was major because there's a level of accountability with coaching, that's very different from other spaces, different from therapy, different from your friends or your family. I think that one thing that I've definitely really thought about with you was, really having peers and people around you that are at your level or even above, and
Mhm,
I realized, like, wow, like in my life, in my little circle, I've been the go-to person. I've been the brave one. I've been the one that became an entrepreneur. Like, so I realized, like, wow, I really do need to bring people in that can really check me or say, hey, you know what, you can do more, you could do
mhm,
better. um and I really felt that way with you. You opened that door for me to see that in other spaces too. And even with Leo, like Leo's, in ways that he has, been being very intentional about his health and how he does things, is surpass some of my areas. Like, I'm like, okay, I have somebody to inspire me to be better and to improve myself. And I made sure to continue to surround myself around people like that, and not just, the ones who are coming to me to ask me for help and advice. So it's definitely like a different level of accountability. And I value that. And just to go back to from the beginning, like, I I never really doubted anything that you were saying or doing. Honestly, I felt your genuineness. I don't know, real recognize real, maybe, I don't know. I was just out here like, this, she got it. I just need to make sure I can get there to get access to this, that was really my focus. And when I have set a goal, like, I do it. So I definitely want to put that. I've always felt, your genuineness, and I followed you for a long time. You've been super consistent. And I think that's what I admire about the most, very graceful and consistent throughout the process, since I've found you, since I've met you. And definitely have leveled me up in just who I have around me too, without feeling bad about it. That's where boundaries are set. And, you know, um, at a time where that felt really hard for me, now it's like, that's not my issue. I have different issues now at different levels.
mm. Yes, definitely, definitely. And thank you for sharing that. Support is so important, y'all. We are not meant to do this thing called life alone. Um, I mean, for those of you who read the Bible, nobody was doing it by themselves, child. Nobody. Um,
That-
nobody. As a matter of fact, I was talking to my husband the other day and I said, isn't it interesting that whenever God sent someone on a journey in the scripture, he sent someone to go with them or he sent them with someone? So if you think about Saul going to find his father's donkeys, there was an angel that was walking with him in human form. He didn't know it, he thought it was just some guy, but that person was with him to guide him along the journey. Even when Abraham left, he left with his wife and his family and his cattle and his cousin. He didn't leave alone. And so often we are positioning ourselves to do life alone, but we're wondering why it's so hard for us to relate with other people. Why is it hard for me to keep a relationship? Because you've turned your comfort zone into a zone of aloneness, a zone of a one woman show, a one woman army, or even one man for the men who are watching. And none of us were designed to be that way. It's so interesting that God created the first man in his own image and then he gave him a helper. So you would think, I'm created in the image of God, I'm perfect, I can handle it all on my own, I can do all the things myself. No, the Lord was like, let me get this man some help. Okay. So be mindful of that. Be mindful of how you are showing up in your life. And if you are showing up in a way that attracts the kinds of relationships that you desire. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing with us tonight, Veronica. I appreciate you immensely, immensely. I
you
don't
already
even have to ask if you would if you would recommend Feminine Success because you've just given a huge feminine success recommendation here. Um,
100%.
I'm just ready for the next retreat. I'm ready to get y'all back in person so we can
Oh
hug for real.
my yes, I'm so down for that. So down for that.
Yes, yes. So tell Leo I said hi.
I will.
And have a good night. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you so much.
joining me.
Have an amazing night.
Peace, peace,
Bye-bye.
peace. So, I wanted you guys to hear directly from someone who has experienced the feminine success transformation in their relationships because I could get on here and tell y'all anything. This is the internet, y'all. This is the internet. But I wanted you to hear from someone who has experienced asking these questions, discerning for these character traits, choosing well, and going through the process of not having to date. I mention all the time that I didn't date my husband. We walked through a very similar process where we were friends. And from friendship, we decided that we were going to pursue marriage. And we were locked in from that moment. Now, we definitely had trials. He broke up with me at some point. He got scared, and all kinds of things happened. He'll come on live and tell y'all all his sins one of these days. But there is a process, and you are able to forego what the world tells you the process is. The world tells us that the process to become a wife, not to say that you shouldn't date, but you don't have to. You don't have to play the dating game in order to attract your right fit. One of the things that Veronica just shared that I also resonate with, and several of the women in my community also resonate with, is your right person is out there, and you don't have to sift through a whole bunch of wrong people. All you have to do is get in alignment. Okay, get in alignment with your right person. Knowing what he looks like, knowing what to measure for, is a part of that getting in alignment piece. So I've seen a couple questions here, and I am going to answer your questions. Let me get right into it. I don't want to keep y'all too long. I saw a question that really piqued my interest, and it says, I can't have a man friend. I've been here before. They always want to have sex with you. Hashtag gross. So, how do you make that possible? So, for those of you who have been following me for a while, I mean, years now, real quick, real quick. Hashtag gross is pushing men away from you. Ladies, let's clear the air here right now. You are supposed to be desirable to men. Men are supposed to desire you. This, every time I try to have a friendship with a man, he wants to take it too far. He wants to have sex, he wants to date, he wants to do all these things. That's what he's supposed to want to do. He's a man, you're a woman. That's what he's supposed to want. But you set the tone. You set the tone. I have guy friends who I've been friends with my whole life, like literally since I was 9 years old. My best male friend, we became friends at 9 years old. Well, other than my husband, we became friends at 9 years old because he gave me a necklace and a love note my first day at a new school. He was like, well, it was actually the second day. He was like, I want her. Little 9 year old him. We still laugh about this to this day. My mom went to the school with the love note and the necklace in her hand before school started, snatched him up off the playground and was like, listen, you can be her friend, but you can't be her boyfriend. She can't have no boyfriends. Boys can't like her. And so often, because of the way that other women respond to being desired by men, and the way that other women in our lives have responded to us being desired, we feel like being desired is a bad thing. Just because a man desires you does not mean that he will disrespect you or take advantage of you. You have got to set the tone. Okay. So the first thing about that is unlearn that men wanting you is gross or nasty or bad, because it's not. That is a tool that you can leverage when you know how to leverage it. Okay. I'm not talking about manipulating, I'm talking about knowing how to use your influence. So that's the first thing. The second thing is there are billions of men on this earth. Every man does not want to have sex with you. Ask yourself, how do you respond when men don't desire you? Because that may be a key to why every man that you attract wants to have sex with you. How do you act or respond when they don't? When they don't seem interested in you, when they don't want to approach you or pursue you in that way? That's the second thing. And then the third thing about this is, what level are you vibrating on? Men who vibrate on a certain level, all they want is sex, and they do not know how to take rejection at all, period. They don't want to be friends with you. They don't want any of that. Because if a man is a low vibrational man, he doesn't value anything other than the lust of his flesh. If you are raising your frequency and you're vibrating on the level of pursuing purpose, pursuing business, keeping your promises to yourself, showing up for your health, for your well being, for your wealth, guess what kind of men and women you're going to start attracting into your life? People who are also on that frequency. So it's really important to ask yourself, am I just surrounded by low vibrational people right now? And what kinds of situations do I need to insert myself in so that I am connecting with people who are thinking on a different level? I have a guy friend right now, his entire team is women, and he disrespects none of them. He takes care of them, he supports them, he takes care of them as far as he takes care of himself. That's a whole nother story. But he is very supportive of them, very respectful of them, very loving, super, super genuine. There are men out here who are like that. My husband is another example. My husband is the guy who, I don't know how he got away with this, because he is very good looking to me, but he never had a girlfriend before we had our relationship. He never had a serious relationship before. Not that women didn't want him. He wasn't interested in being in a relationship that he was not serious about. He wasn't interested in just having sex with a woman or just being out there. So those men are available to you, but what is available to you also depends on the level that you are vibrating on, the level that you are reaching for, the way that you are showing up. And if you're showing up in a situation with this filter of all these men want from me is, then that's really all you're going to see. And that's all you're going to attract is more people who prove you right. All right. So the piece about that is, as a woman, if you are the woman who keeps being proven right when it comes to men, and that right is in the negative, you've got to decide that you're ready to be wrong, which is something that is hard for a lot of women. You've got to decide that you're ready to be wrong. You're ready to be wrong about these men. And that alone starts to activate your ability to receive something new. All right. So I hope that that helped someone here and that gave you, set the captives free. It released your heart from the idea that, you're only good for one thing in a man's mind, because you're not. I mean, there are so many men out here who value, who love, who appreciate women just because they appreciate women. All right, let's see. Team Feminine Success all the way. Hey, Cherise. Hey, Cherise. So good to see you. Get an alignment. You don't have to sift through a whole bunch of wrong people. All you've got to do is get an alignment. That is absolutely true. Um, let's see. Who else is here? Who else is here? Come on with the Bible study. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. I try not to give y'all too much. Are there any other questions? Are there any other questions? I see the Social Charlotte says, that is my biggest struggle. I am too comfortable doing things alone and in a silo. That's real. And I was that way too. What I had to realize for myself is that I actually was not comfortable. I was in a familiar space, and that familiar space was disguising itself as comfort. But I didn't really like being alone. And I had to let myself fully feel the fact that I didn't like it. So often, when those feelings come up for us, we say, girl, you good. You know, you got this. But you don't want to got this anymore. You're tired of getting this. So you've got to let yourself feel the fact that you're no longer okay, or you're no longer comfortable. Yes, you are capable of doing it alone, but you've got to get to the point where you are no longer comfortable doing it alone and you're honest with yourself about that. All right. Let's see. I'm so happy I made this live. I'm so happy you made this live too. Um, P. Morgan says, I'm so appreciative of this live. Thank you for touching on the difference between therapy and coaching. Persistence and accountability is key. Absolutely. I like to say therapy helps you to go back, coaching helps you to go forward. And they work very well hand in hand, very well together. Having a great therapist and a great coach on your team is like major key to success. All right. All right. Let's see. Let's see. Are there any other questions? I agree. My relationship has truly improved with my father has truly improved since I started my feminine success journey. I love it. Shalice says, funny that my husband has mom issues and I have father issues. And what's so powerful about that is that you guys can help each other heal. You guys can help each other heal those issues. I really feel, and I know people don't like to say this or to hear this, but as humans in our development journey, we move from, are supposed to naturally move from being under the care of our mother and father to being under the care of a husband and wife. And it's just an evolution. So, because of that, you are best able to help him gain trust, be able to connect with a woman again. And I would say not to take that emotional burden. Neither of you should be taking on the full emotional burden of that for each other. There are therapists, coaches, mentors, people out here who can support you with doing that work together. Don't do that alone, even if you're alone together. All right, all right, all right, all right. Kiana says, hold on. I saw you earlier, Kiana. What if a man is taking 3 days to respond to a text message and not following up on plans to hang? And I saw someone say he's stringing you along. So this would be the perfect time for my husband to swoop down on this live because he used to play these kind of games. Okay. Um, he was my husband is an only child, so there's that. He had never been accountable to anyone but himself and his mother. He and like the band when he was in school. He never had to answer to anyone, never had to consider anyone else. So the beginning of our relationship, while he was responsive when he was responsive, he also had times where he's like, oh, I haven't even seen my phone in days. And that's now being married to him. Both of us can be that way where we just literally are not in the phone. We're just not. And so I would say in this case, if he is doing this on a regular basis after you have told him you are not okay with this, let that man go. Okay. Um, because he's not considering your feelings, your needs, what you desire from the relationship, and he's showing you that early on. If it's the first time he's done it and you're just really aggravated by it, communicate that you don't like that, how it makes you feel. so that he is aware of it. Not following up on plans to hang. So I don't have context here, but I will use the language that you used. Early in a relationship, especially if it's someone that you are considering having a more serious relationship with, I would not be open to just, hey, I'm about to come over and hang out. Or, hey, what are you doing today? Let's hang out. Because this is where you want to see how he plans, whether he shows up for his plans. Tell him, hey, I'm interested in getting to know you for sure, but I prefer more intentional dates, and have him plan something. And if he doesn't show up for something that he took the time to plan, that tells you he doesn't value his time, and he doesn't value your time either. So if this is something that has happened once, I know all of the relationship groups are out here telling y'all, if he's done it once, he's going to do it 1,000 times. So don't. We live in a busy world and things happen. Okay. But if you've communicated this to him, if you've gotten clear, and he still just does not care, doesn't show up, he doesn't value his time. And you don't want to be in a relationship with someone who does not value their time. A powerful man, a purposeful man is not playing with his time because he knows that it's limited. Okay. This is another reason why I don't mind saying, you know what? A man who is serious is not going to string you along. He's not going to take forever because he's not trying to waste his time. Okay, let's see. Good question. Good question. How much do you lean in when you and your partner have established that courting and marriage is the end goal? I still don't lean in. I didn't lean in until I got married. Now we did, and I'm totally transparent about that. We did have sex once we decided we were going to get married. But as far as, if you have ever watched, if you haven't, you should join Feminine Success so you have access to things. But if you have seen my husband privileges versus husband treatment live that I did years ago, I still hold true to that. And I'll probably do a refresh of that live, because even during courting, that was still not my husband. So he was not getting husband privileges. He was not getting access to my intellectual property. Okay. I am not about to give you all my ideas and help you build a business and you still haven't married me. No, it's not happening. I'm not pouring my all into you because we are courting. You still need to plan things. You still need to show up and keep your word. I am still, in the Bible, they call it proving your partner. I am still proving you in that phase. Okay. So to me, because as women, we have been conditioned to lean in so heavily, to love so hard, to give so much, avoid leaning in as long as you can, as long as you can, as outside of marriage. Let's see. Kiana says, is it wise to ask a man if he is interested when his actions are showing you that he is not? I would ask myself, if his actions are showing me one thing, why do I need confirmation? Do I want to be lied to? Is there some type of validation that I feel when I am told that you love me, even if you're not showing it? Because more than likely, you are trying to soothe something that's going on with your inner child there. And that is going to set you up for disappointment. So yeah, I would start there. I wouldn't even start with asking him if he's interested. Why don't I trust what my eyes see? So I would start there for sure. If you have taken the Feminine Success Master training and you need to take it again, we have another cohort coming up this month. Take it again, because that inner child work is important. Veronica just shared with you guys, it was so important for her to heal her relationship with her inner masculine before she started to attract or date or anything like that. All right. All right. I want to do the work. Thanks, sis. I love it. I love it. I love it. Um, what's the way to respond to suspected ghosting without looking desperate? Don't respond. Don't respond. I am a big believer in what causes desperation in us oftentimes as women is when we are looking for someone to fill a hole or a need that they don't have the capacity to fill. And we have the expectation that they will, but they don't. And so in that time when I feel ghosted, I would get clearer on what am I actually feeling? What does it feel like this person did to me? What do I really want right now? And how am I making sure that that need is met in my life? Okay. So that a person who has not even committed or agreed to meeting that need for you is not under the burden of being expected to, and you are not under the burden of disappointment when they don't. Okay, you know your needs, and you are still responsible for making sure that you get what you need and that your needs are met. It might not be through that person, but I wouldn't respond to ghosting. Now, if they came back, that's different. If they ghost you and they come back and they're like, "Oh, hey, big head, how you been? What's going on? I've been thinking about you." Oh, really? Um, Before we even have a conversation, I definitely want to address though that I don't appreciate people disappearing on me without communicating, and I find it very rude. So there, you're able to measure how does he respond to being held accountable. All right. All right. Let's see. Jabril also asked, do you think if you started being physical that it can progress to a serious relationship? Yes. I know people who had sex on the first date and they're married 20 something years. I think Vanessa Bell Calloway shared that story. She's still married to her husband. I do think that it can progress to a serious relationship. I would ask myself as a woman though, is that how I want the relationship to progress? Do I want to share myself physically with someone, understanding that and knowing that if it doesn't progress, how I'll feel, what I'll have to work through, what I'll have to go through, what I'll have to unpack now because I have allowed myself to go there with this person and it didn't pan out the way that I thought it would. It always comes back to what do you really want for yourself? What do you really desire? You know, if you just want the thrill, if you just want the sex and you will be okay if it goes this way or if it doesn't go that way, then be honest about that with yourself as well. But for most of us as women, we don't just want that. We want, even if we say, oh, I just want something no strings attached, we've gotten to that point because we've attached strings so many times and been disappointed when they were cut that we tell ourselves, oh, I just want something that's no strings attached because that's easier. Okay. So asking yourself, what do you really want? Let's see. Kiana says, I've communicated how I feel about it, and he's just not a good texter. However, he doesn't call either. This guy doesn't seem like he's interested. He just doesn't seem interested. I wouldn't spend any more time or emotional energy on trying to figure him out. A man who really wants you is not going to have you trying to figure him out. He's trying to let you get to know him, really. Because men are looking for a place where they can be comfortable, where they can be their true selves, where they can take off the armor that they have to wear all day, every day. If he is not leaning into the ability to do that with you as a woman, then he doesn't really want to be there. So I wouldn't spend time trying to figure out why he doesn't want to be there. He's just not your person. And the more time we spend trying to figure out why this guy isn't my person, he's holding mental, emotional space, spiritual space of the person who is. And I've said many, many times, a good man is not going to walk past a woman who has a man next to her and say, "Oh, that's my woman. I want her." He's not. So your man, your right man, will walk right on by you because his space in your life is occupied by someone who doesn't even deserve to be there. So I would do the work to rid myself, my energy of him, thank him, and keep it moving. All right, all right. Shalice says, my husband and I were in a situation where we moved in after 2 weeks of knowing each other, but we are still together after 20 years. Problem is, we didn't really get to know each other before the commitment. That's real. That's real. So take your time. Like, literally, there is no rush, ladies. There is no rush. Take your time. Take your time. I know biological clocks get to ticking. God can do a lot in a little bit of time, but don't rush into something because you feel like this might be your last opportunity. This might be your last shot. I need to get married within the next year. Take your time. Take your time. Who you choose to marry, who you choose to share your life with, who you choose is worthy of your energy, even if y'all end up divorced. That's a lot of emotional baggage, of emotional energy that I won't say is wasted, but it's not going towards what you intentionally desire for yourself. So be very, very mindful of that. All right. I hope that tonight's live has supported you. I hope that it has gotten you ready for your next opportunity to show up, to choose well, to choose great relationships, men and women, to choose great relationships for yourselves, to choose great friendships for yourselves. And for those of you who are saying, I'm ready to do the work, we have an opportunity coming up that you do not want to miss. Stay tuned into these lives. If you are over here on YouTube, I need you to do one thing for me. I need you to comment your biggest takeaway on this video when you see it pop up. If you're watching the replay, comment your biggest takeaway from this conversation. Hey, husband, just a couple minutes ago, I was saying you should pop on and come over here and sit next to me, but now the conversation has changed, so next time. Next time. But if this has supported you, if this has edified you and given you what you need today, I would love to hear about it in the comments, and we can continue the conversation in the comments of this video over on YouTube. With that, I'm going to say peace. Y'all enjoy the rest of your night. I'll talk to y'all tomorrow. We're going to have another live session tomorrow. I'm going to see if y'all ready for it. Good night, y'all.